Hello and welcome to Spain versus Finland. My analysis videos tend to get pretty long, so we're just going to review the first round of Numbani, and we're going to focus primarily on positioning and the way teams set up and engage their fights. So we may deviate a bit, but that's going to be the primary focus. So let's get into it. So here's the defense from Spain, perfectly reasonable, running the triple DPS, but the positioning is definitely not ideal. There's this theme hopefully we'll be bringing up several times today in this video, which is this idea of filling out the map, making sure that you're utilizing as much of the map as possible to contest flanks, to scout for information, things like that. So this side of the map pretty much gets completely untouched. We're going to see Winston and Genji kind of flirt with this side a little bit, but not a whole lot. And there's going to be this bit of a disconnect where because the offense brings out a Reinhardt, Genji and Winston, they're going to want to kind of poke out a little bit, but Tracer doesn't quite know what to do. She's kind of stuck here, and she kind of just ducks behind this payload. So a bit of a miscommunication. I don't think they were expecting the Reinhardt, but this problem wouldn't have happened if you put at least one of Genji or Tracer on this side. And, you could just put both. And it doesn't have to be, like right here. It could be like over here or like in the hallways or, well, actually, probably not the hallways, but almost certainly outside over here is valid, and somewhere in this kind of general area is valid. Yeah. Could you do hallways? I guess you could do hallways, but I'm not a big fan of that. Okay, cool. So now from the offense, they bring out the Reinhardt. Again, I'm not super happy with this. They don't really touch this side of the map either. It goes completely underutilized. And if you watch my videos, I don't like clumping. If Genji or Tracer had been positioned, or both, had been positioned around here, easy flank, right? They can then pincer the opponents, and good chance that they win this, or kind of break even. So to be honest, the offense and the defense, pretty big blunders in terms of how they're setting this up already. However, the offense is going to take the win because of the setup with the Reinhardt. They can easily push forward. They go unpunished for clumping, and for the lack of flanking and utilizing the rest of the map. So Genji and Tracer on this side, on the defense, get super underutilized, and they just kind of get stuffed. There's not a whole lot they can do given the circumstances with the Reinhardt and D.Va shoving them forward. So I really don't like that the offense just kind of bum rushed main, but they weren't punished for it. So yeah, it's actually really unfortunate. So let's, yeah, so on both sides, not too happy with the setup. But again, the offense is going to take this pretty handedly. He's going to just poke this Genji. And then in a moment, so let's see right there, you can see Tracer just ducking behind this card over here. Winston's going to come down for a moment, and then Bale immediately, his bubble's going to get melted. They were just poking the Zenyatta, poke. So as you can see, the backline pretty free to do whatever they want. They're not getting punished at all for clumping around main. We're just getting free damage here, and the defense can't return a whole lot with this Reinhardt and D.Va shoving them in their face. So I think they were really expecting a dive comp to come out, but no, they bring out the Reinhardt soldier. So really, the only kind of divey person they have is the Genji, and I guess the D.Va too. But that's not how this offense was functioning. It was more of just kind of a little bit more of a death ball-y comp. I guess you could call it kind of like a hybrid comp, but perfectly valid. But the defense can't punish it at all, again, because of the lack of filling out the rest of the map. Okay, so now we have this next fight coming up. Similar thing. The defense is just going to come head on. There's Genji right there. Winston's on the second floor. It's really sad to see this because it really just doesn't make any sense. So like if we look here, again, this side of the map completely, let's just say this part of the map, completely untouched by the defense, could have easily looked for flanks, right? If they had just been a little bit patient, just wait another, I don't know, 5 seconds for the defense to set up, position people around here, and again around here, and to look for flanks, right? And to just press from multiple angles, get multiple angles of attack, divide your forces, things like that. So really, really unfortunate that they just kind of do the same thing again, go head on, and it's just, that's it. There's not a whole lot to say here. And not to mention, of course, that since Finland won the first fight so handedly, they now have ultimate advantage. Yeah. Okay, so now let's move forward. to the next fight. Oops, right there. Okay, so what we're gonna see here is, okay, so right here you can tell, you can see we got the soldier up here. Everyone else on the high ground. I believe there's someone else over here. I think it might be Reinhardt. And I think Genji too. And what you're going to see happen is they're going to get a pick onto the defense's soldier, Harry Hook. Unfortunately, Finland's Genji makes a mechanical mistake. He swift strikes on Harry Hook right before Harry Hook dies. Excuse me, right after Harry Hook dies. So then he doesn't get the reset, and he's actually stuck. So basically, it's going to be a 1-for-1. It's going to be a trade. Now, the key thing to take away here, let me erase this, is that the soldier is actually going to drop from high ground. So now you're going to have everyone on the low ground. It's a 5v5. They had just burned, I believe, 2 ultimates on that last fight. So, you know, ultimates not too... In fact, let me see if I can grab the ultimates. So we got... yeah, it's about even. Not a whole lot to say here. So positioning, even more important. So what you're going to see happen is, because they're all on the low ground, you're going to see the defense tracer get a pretty easy flank here onto Zen and kill him pretty quickly. So you're just going to see a lot of trading. And when the payload is approaching closer to this checkpoint, the offense no longer has like a spawn advantage. It's about even. So you need cleaner fights to get this next checkpoint. So you're going to see a lot of trading. Instead, what would have been better is if the offense had set up on the high ground and held it. So Soldier and Zen probably up there. Heck, you could even throw a Reinhardt up there, and that's probably totally valid. Instead, there's just a brawl on the low ground. And on the offense, at this point, you're not looking for a brawl. You're looking for a pretty clean win. Okay. So there's the pick, and then as you can see, he swift strikes in as soon as right after Harry Hook dies. Now he's stuck here. He's like, oh crud, and that's it. Cool. And so if they were on the high ground at this point, if you can imagine, you know, Soldier and Zen on the high ground, much easier to find damage, and easier to detect and dissuade any flankers that are coming at you. Instead, they kind of just get stuffed here. And please, by the way, please, when you're going to Dragonblade, as you can see, he was Dragonblading, and Reinhardt and Soldiers kind of stuffed him, and Zen, and who knows whoever else. So just as a side note, you have to be very careful when you're Dragonblading, and kind of like head on of your opponents. I don't want to get too much into the details, but just be careful when you do stuff like that. This could have gone very differently if he had gotten that, but. Anyway, it doesn't matter in this case too much, because it actually works out in his favor, because he gets to save the Dragonblade, and the defense still wins. So it actually worked out. But more often than not, that's going to cost you. So you got to be very careful with stuff like that. Okay, so let's move on to the next fight. So here we have. Okay, cool. So right here, again, like we talked about, this idea of filling out the map. So what you're going to see here, I believe Genji is hiding in this room. So actually, you know what? Let's bring out the images. So I believe Genji's in here somewhere. He gets a really easy Dragon Strike. So like we talked about, you know, Dragon Strikes head on, very dangerous. But a Dragon Strike from the back, so lethal, so lethal. And he's just going to clean house here. So you can see that it would have been really great for the offense to clear out this area, and then depending on what the defense is doing, push out accordingly from the sides and from main. Instead, they get really impatient. They just pretty much just bum rush main again, and this time they get punished for it. So, oops, wrong one. All right. So a bit impatient there. So you can kind of see that they sort of tried to kind of push out that top right side, but they didn't do it patiently. And you're going to see a good example of how to do it patiently and correctly later. So here's Genji right here. He's going to just destroy the back line. And not a whole lot to say here. We're going to see, there's the kill feed. He's popping off. Fire Strike here. Excuse me, Earth Shatter. I think in the comms, they were already ready to switch to Winston. So I think they were just like, go for it. So he burns the Earth Shatter. No big deal. Cool. So now let's go to the next part. So 518. Okay. And you know, and for that matter, they switched to the Winston, and I'm not really a big fan of that. The Reinhardt wasn't the problem. It was a complete misunderstanding of how to, you know, position your resources, right? To position all of the players, and again, to fill out the map, checking flanks, pushing them out, clearing them out, and contesting them. So really unfortunate that they kind of just rushed it, and they paid for it. Okay, so here again, similar problem. We're gonna see a lot of clumping. Like, just you can already see it right here happening right there. Look at that juicy clump right here. Oh, that makes me so sad. You got the Genji and Lucio with pretty decent spacing, but oh man, this makes me so sad to see this kind of caliber, these calibers of players, players of this caliber do stuff like this. So here, let me take another screenshot. I believe it's Tracer this time here. She gets a pretty nice flank. Again, this isn't gonna work. It's too rushed, right? They're going down main and getting punished pretty heavily for it. And you're gonna see here, this Genji, he kind of goes to see what this Winston's doing, and you can't quite see this Winston because the quality's so bad, but he's right here, and he's gonna just drop down, and they're gonna go for a dive. So this Genji kind of just goes in circles and does nothing for the next few seconds. And the defense gets what they want again with the Tracer, you know, flanking. And oh man, this is this makes me sad. So just as a side note again, when you're Dragonblading, the first Swift Strike after you Dragonblade is going to determine whether or not you get, you know, 0 or 1 kills or like 3 or 4 kills. So you always have to be very careful with that first Swift Strike, either to not use it or aim it at the ground correctly, especially against, you know, soldiers and Lucios and Mercies, things like that. Okay, so again, similar problem. Let's go to the next fight, which is at 6 minutes. Okay, here we're finally going to see some very good filling of the map by the offense. So you're going to see this Tracer, and you're going to see lots of dancing, right? Like a lot of times I talk about like rotations and dancing, and people are like, oh, like what does that mean? You're going to see a good example of it now. So here we're going to see Tracer. She's filling out this side of the map, right? And then now she's going to clear out this other side of the map to the right. She's checking all the corners, looking for any pesky Genjis, Tracers, whatever. This is so beautiful to watch. This is the kind of, you know, high-level strategic play we need to be seeing more, right? So this is great. He clears it out. He starts dancing and starts fighting with this Tracer. That's cool. He bullies him away. And I'm not a huge fan that he picked this side of the map. I would have liked him to see on the high ground on the right side, but this is perfectly valid. You're going to see what you're going to see now is Spain is going to use 6 ultimates to win this fight. Well, actually, technically 5 because the last one's a waste, but we'll get to that. And Finland's only going to use 1. So because of this really good engagement where they properly set up the fight patiently, they rotated around, they bullied their opponents out, very methodically pushed forward. This is actually a win, even though they're going to lose this fight, as you'll see here. And it actually starts out very well, but again, Spain had the ultimate advantage, so they're going to use all of their ultimate resources to win this, to bring this back. But this is a total win for Finland. This is exactly what they've been needing to do this entire time, and they won't reap the benefits now. They'll reap the benefits on the next fight. So here they're getting the fight's turning back into Spain's favor, but now they've used 5 ultimates. We're about to see Primal Rage get popped, even though it shouldn't have been. So cool. Blah, blah, blah. We're fighting. Fighting's awesome. Cool. So right here comes the Primal Rage. And I'm not quite sure why he did this. This is actually, first of all, at this point in the fight, it's really silly, obviously, because the fight was won. So I guess he was just greeting for extra kills and more staggering. But, well, actually, I'll just leave it at that. So, yeah, so not so great. Cool. Okay, so at this point, like we said, they're going to reap the benefits now. They're going to have some ultimates coming up, whereas Spain is completely depleted on ultimates, right? So even though, in my opinion, this setup is not very great coming out from the offense, I would have liked to see more use of the high ground, things like that. It doesn't really matter because of the ultimate advantage. And I want to make one quick point. So typically, I don't like to see Diva ultimates used to open up fights. In this case, actually it just happened right now. So you can see Diva just launched it into the Zenyatta. In this case, it's valid. I'll say it's acceptable because it was extremely likely that this was going to kill that Zenyatta. So very unlikely Zenyatta can dodge this. So in that sense, I think it's okay. But we're going to see a way better Diva ultimate later. So in my opinion, not the best way to use Diva ultimates in this case, but a valid one. We'll say it's valid. Cool. So yeah, so they clean up. Now for this next fight, actually, did I stop that prematurely? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay, cool. So for this next fight, unfortunately, the replay was happening. So the observers didn't catch the way this next fight starts. So we're in the replay now. And so this fight right here. So we don't know how it starts. A little bit sloppy on the defense, though. I think they trickled in. Again, I can only imagine. I can only guess. It would have been nice to see them wait for each other and position more carefully, but they kind of trickle in and they get punished for it. But again, it's hard to tell because, again, we couldn't see what happened. So, cool. Okay, so for this next fight, Winston makes a huge mistake on the offense. So he's right there. Oh, actually, let's wait a bit. Oh, actually, no, let's go back. Oh, actually, no, that's good enough. So right here, he's kind of posting up behind this wall, but then he goes in to kind of plug that hole. Really silly because he doesn't have line of sight of his teammates to like support him. So he goes in way too deep and gets killed. It's actually really sad to see. This is a pretty amateur move. It would have been great if he had actually just posted around this door and just poked. Like these on either side of the door as I show here. Yeah, really sad. So he actually just kind of gives up a free kill. He almost escapes right there if you can see him. He's almost alive and now he's dead. So unfortunate, but a really critical error that should not have happened. There's pretty much no reason to do that. It looks like he greeted a bit. Yeah. So now what we're going to see is Lucio and Zenyatta on the offense. They're going to blow their support ultimates. At this point, as soon as he died, the call should have been to back off, back off, back off. You have 1:30. That's enough for 2 clean pushes. So, you know, everyone should have just fallen off a cliff or ran away and then started for the next fight. Instead, we're going to see Lucio and Zenyatta use their ultimates, and this is going to bite him in the butt for the next fight. So really unfortunate that they did this. At this point, it's really hard to bring this back 6v5, especially with the spawn advantage from the defense. So, or rather 5v6. So very unfortunate. Okay, so now for this next fight, you're going to notice that there isn't going to be a reset. So as you can see, the offense is kind of trickling back in, and so not a full reset. So that's going to be important for later. So we'll come back to that. So for this fight, you're going to see the offense bring out a decent flank from Tracer. She's going to use this left side from this perspective. So let me see if I can. Oh, actually, you know what? We can go here. So Tracer's going to get a decent flank over here, get a pulse bomb, apply pressure. Winston and Diva dive in. Actually, I think they dive in from this direction. And then you have your backline over here. So a pretty decent attack. It's actually perfectly viable. It's great. Valid. The problem is they don't have their support ultimates. So if they had their support ultimates, at least one of them, there's a good chance they can actually win this. But because they have neither, it doesn't matter how good the attack is, you know, unless they just went full beast mode and just, you know, just carried the hell out of the fight. So it's actually really unfortunate. Cool. And then now we're going to see an amazing Diva ultimate. Cool. So there it is. Okay, so this Diva ultimate is so good. So as you can see, Tracer had just killed Zenyatta, as you see in the kill feed. So, but even if Tracer doesn't land that pulse bomb, this Diva ultimate puts in so much work. So like if we go back to this, Diva ultimate lands here. Lucio has to go in here. If the Zenyatta was still alive, he'd probably join Lucio in here, or just fall back into the stairs. Soldier has to go this way. The rest of the front line has to go forward. So this Diva ult creates this massive zone, this kind of black hole, in addition to the Soldier like completely nullifying the Soldier's ultimate. So absolutely beautiful Diva ultimate. This is the type of Diva ultimate you should be emulating, and it's by far the most effective. It's gonna have the most likely chance of turning a fight and, you know, winning matches. If you're using it to like open up fights, not so great. You know, especially as you get to the higher levels and, you know, at professional play, there are times where it's perfectly valid to open up a fight with the Diva ultimate, like we saw when he had that really high chance kill on Zenyatta. Perfectly valid. But this is like in my opinion, like the best way to use D.Va ultimates, and it's the way you should be approaching fights. Like, you should be thinking about the fight as D.Va, and you know, as a team, okay, like, how can we set up D.Va so that when the opponents engage, we can make them split up, or make a really hard, you know, basically make a really hard decision about whether to, you know, go forward, you know, deeper into enemy territory, or disengage backwards, and then you can start shooting at people when they're running away from you. So, you know, the bomb can create so much space in the middle of a fight, which makes it almost impossible to win a fight when you're having to deal with enemies in addition to a D.Va ultimate, especially when you get good at like sliding them and things like that. Anyways, I don't want to deviate too much on D.Va ultimate, so let's get back into it. Okay, so a great zoning ultimate from the D.Va, totally just confirms that this fight is a win. Obviously that pulse bomb was great, but in my opinion, actually not necessary. Yeah, cool. So now we talked about that reset. Now this was a clean reset. So again, filling out the map, you're gonna see Finland on the offense completely ignore the high ground. So if we go back to our picture here, this is going to go completely uncontested by the defense, which makes me so sad. You absolutely cannot do that. Tracer is going to chill up here, and she's going to apply so much pressure. She's going to dissuade Soldier from pushing forward and just create so much pressure. It's actually beautiful to watch. So let's move forward a bit. Oh, actually, no, this is fine. So again, that top side completely untouched. That makes me so sad. And there's enough time. There's 11 seconds. You absolutely have time to send a soldier up there. Absolutely. And this Winston bubble, not so great. It's actually a really bad Winston bubble. He's going to need that like in a few seconds to jump onto the cart. Oh, another thing that we just missed. Sorry, I got too excited. Okay, so right here, you're going to notice Tracer on the left part of your screen get discorded. So right there. Okay, so on the left side, she just got discorded. She completely disrespects the Zenyatta right click. And if you watch any of my Zenyatta videos as a Zenyatta main, this is like the easiest right click to hit in the world. She's gonna walk out around the corner. She's not gonna wait for the discord to go off, and she's also not gonna like blink away from the wall. So total disrespect. She literally just walks around the corner and eats some right clicks from Zen. And there it is. So disrespectful. At the highest levels, we should not be seeing plays like this. Any decent Zenyatta will get that kill. I would get that kill, no problem, like 99% of the time. So very silly for Tracer to do that. Now, as we can see, we got Tracer in the middle of our screen. She's pressing the opponents. Soldier can't go forward. She makes him waste his rocket. This is so great on the defense side, but it's actually more of a blunder on the offensive side. On the offense side, because they didn't push that out, right? They didn't fill out the map. They didn't clear out that part of the map. They should have pushed it with, like, again, probably like a Soldier and a Zenyatta. So really unfortunate that they didn't do that. Pretty big blunder. And again, it was because the fight was a full reset. So the defense had time to set up however they wanted, and they did it really intelligently by putting the Tracer up there. Absolutely beautiful. And it's actually really sad that we didn't see this kind of distribution of resources from the defense earlier. Specifically point A and the fight right after point A. So yeah, cool. I think that concludes the end of this video. If you liked it, please subscribe. Thank you.